is, after this 1 year, what do you think is crucial for sustainable partnership? Maybe if just with 1-2 sentences, if you can summarize this.
Shall I go first?
Yes, please.
I think it is the personal relationships that are built between the countries and between the partners, because without that sort of tolerance for the fact that we were Skyping at all hours in all time differences, I'm looking at Andy now, to try and get the final reports finished and things, and having that sort of tolerance and the commitment to each other, and I think it's those personal relationships will make it more sustainable.
I think, Christopher?
I think, buy-in from people in senior leadership positions and a connecting up between the levels of the hierarchy within the organisation, so that the commitment of staff at a lower level, when they hit barriers within their institutions, that there's somebody at a high level that they can go to help to unlock some of those things. And often that's about resources, I think, and sometimes competing priorities. Sometimes there may be more than one entrepreneurship competition running within an institution, and which one gets prioritised, or are there ways of thinking of them maybe being run together, and you need leadership. Team members to be working on those problems, I think.
Yeah, I would say two things, actually. One of which is that the mutual understanding and respect between the partners. And if I were to take it from the UK perspective, and we're coming getting into a country from the UK, I think the approach we need to take should be more flexible. We shouldn't be saying this is the UK way of doing it and the other partners should follow. There should be some flexibility there in terms of how we can make compromises and finding a mutually reasonable solution. That's one thing. And the second thing is, I think we all need to think about all the stakeholders involved in the project. And I did mention these stakeholders. We have got our students, we have got the industry representatives, policymakers, and we have got the representatives of our institutions. The key question is how do we keep them motivated and committed? I think that's crucial. And there should be we need to exploit our skills of lobbying, convincing people, which takes a lot of energy and time as well, and we need to be aware of that.
Thank you. I would like to open the floor for questions. You've heard some 3 good practices. Please, can we have microphone? Thank you.
Atul Bhaskar from Southampton University. I would like to actually share some of the challenges that Newcastle mentioned. And I think we've learned, in the first year we've also learned, I've got 2 different partnerships, one with Ukraine and one with Armenia. And I think the issues are very similar in many ways, although we understood how to get around it. And that relates to reimbursements, to fund transfer, and so on. I think we cannot undervalue this. It's very important. And the reason is very simple. In a European project, for example, funds are allocated to the partners from the coordinator. Straight from the Commission, it goes to different partners. Whereas it is not that way here, because a lump sum for the whole partnership is given to the UK partner. And then our legal services, rightly so, I do not know whether everyone else didn't face this, or if they didn't, I wonder why not. Because UK law has certain do's and don'ts. And this is exactly where our university wouldn't. For example, I know some of my colleagues have told me that we took our credit card and used it in country X. My legal team will be after me. I'm just telling you, it's not allowed. So this is where, if the funds are separated to start with, I think it will really help. Then, for small little things, we can book flights, for example. That's easier. But every little thing from taxi and Uber, reimbursement of those little slips is a lot of overhead on our time. So rather than spending our time on the project, we spend time on these kind of things. And I think once we understand this, it will be easier now. I think we understand to some extent what will happen in the next year. It will be much easier. We have certain internal agreements in place that took time because there are finances involved in it. For example, if I had to buy some services in country X, say refreshments for a meeting, I can't do that. It's only that countries, that university there could do it. I cannot pay for it directly. Whereas I think some universities don't mind. That's my impression. So these are the things that if we knew right at the outset, now I think we know how to deal with it. And here too, I'm very sure it will be much smoother. But these challenges are very important because then, rather than doing the project, we are spending time with my research and innovation service, my procurement team, my legal service.
Thank you very much. Yes, we recognize those difficulties. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Can we have a microphone? Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, George Lafouras from Middlesex University. Thanks so much to British Council for giving us a great opportunity to collaborate with our partners from Kyrgyzstan. As part of the conference that we held, I had to face approximately 150, 160 individuals and explain what we were trying to do, of which the majority were females. That was one of our objectives for our project. And quite a few of them were single mothers who they were trying to juggle their lives and create something. So we tried to help them, to give them the tools to improve their lives and the future for their country and their children. However, after the first few weeks, we realized that it is important for our project to understand the cultural differences. Probably you understand from my accent, I'm from a Greek background, I've been in the UK for 25 years. I challenged Brexit, and God knows what future will bring us. But when you are in Kyrgyzstan, it's very difficult to understand how women are being treated, what is the stereotype that we need to follow in order for the project to be a successful one. So we needed to adapt to the Kyrgyz culture in order for our outputs to be more successful. So my question is that, from your own experiences, did you tackle any cultural difference problems, maybe from professional backgrounds, and how did you manage to come up with a solution? Thank you.
Fiona, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we found, particularly when we visited Azerbaijan, and I feel sort of slightly uncomfortable with all my colleagues from Azerbaijan, so you'll have to correct me if my understanding is wrong, but there's a big distinction between those who grew up under sort of Soviet rule compared with the students who we were working with. So on occasions, particularly when we ran the Creatathon, we found that the students were really frightened of giving advice to one of the businesses who had come along, because that's not what you do. So we were sort of almost torn between saying, look, yeah, we know that this isn't usual, but that business has come in, they know it's not usual, so push against those boundaries, and in a way, you can blame it on us because we're those British people who don't really understand that, that you're not used to doing that. So I think it was trying to recognise that there were those distinctions in the sort of generational perspectives, but also saying to the students, look, you're brilliant, you're fantastic, you have got valuable ideas, and he doesn't have to accept these into his business, but they're valuable. So I don't think we've resolved all of the issues at all, and we learn from those. And I said it was an experiment that we did just in July, but we'll take that into account more when we go back next time. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I think in Uzbekistan country conferences, we've talked a bit about the different styles of pedagogy that might exist and the idea that maybe there needs to be a twin track of pedagogic development alongside the development of knowledge about entrepreneurship, teaching particularly. And I think I'm sure that's right, and I would say that I have noticed cultural differences, but I think we need to be careful about leaping to the thought that these are unique to these countries. And I was thinking, I went into a classroom in Uzbekistan where I saw that on the wall there's a box where all the students have to put their mobile phones because they're absolutely banned from use in the classroom. And whereas I'm thinking I want students to be able to access the internet to do research. And in fact, at one point I realised that the dean of the faculty has an incredible video surveillance system in his office. And I think he can see every classroom and potentially see whether people are using their phones. And at one point I was using my phone in the classroom and I was thinking maybe he was looking at me and I might have been breaching a rule. And so we had a bit of a laugh about that. But then I've just taken over the management of an area at my university, and actually it turns out that there's a rule in this particular subject area that bans mobile phones in the classroom in the UK. So, I think that we need to be careful about positioning ourselves as necessarily culturally different in terms of pedagogy. I think it's an area that we ought to be exploring much more together.
You want me to say?
Yes.
If we have got time.
Yes.
Again, two things from me. Thank you very much for that question. In fact, we visited your partner institution and to facilitate the exchange of partnerships and learning. So you're doing a great job. So thank you very much. Two things here. One of which I'm already mentioned. In that part of the world, I think it's cultural again, and I would be a bit cautious to relate everything to culture, but I guess it is cultural. There is this perception that it would be better for me to work for the government, for the state. Now that to me is one of the biggest barrier in that part of the world in front of entrepreneurship and creativity. Yeah? And that will take some time for us to overcome that. And it has to do with us, again, directly being involved in confidence building and making sure that the students actually have the capacity and the ability to produce new ideas and start up new businesses. Talking about creativity again, that's my second point. We worked a lot, we spent a lot of time thinking about creativity and what would make an idea creative. And there is a challenge there as well, because what happens with these students in that part of the world, some of them are, creativity would come with education as well as life experience and traveling. What they might consider as creative ideas might not be creative enough for us and for the potential buyers in the future. So how do we break through and this barrier and make sure that we equip students with the examples from other parts of the world so they can benchmark their so-called creative ideas against the ideas overseas in different parts of the world? I think that is crucial.
Thank you very much. I understand our time is up, but what I would like to encourage everybody is to share their experience with each other, especially new partners. I think we can learn a lot from year-one partnerships, and it will help us to be successful and have good practice second year. So let's use this opportunity during 2 days to share and learn, share good practices, good recommendations. And I would like to thank you all for being there, and thank you for our presenters for sharing their experience, and wish everybody good luck in year 2 of the program. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank